Architectural evolution has given us significant exposure to the most prolific and influential architectural trends throughout history. At the same time, the architectural development fad has also resulted in some unfavorable events. Megaprojects, a classic example of this, are mind-bogglingly complex endeavors that necessitate meticulous planning and not to mention a fair amount of luck to succeed. Stay with us to the end of the video as we look at the 5 most useless megaprojects in the world. Now, trust me when I say that they're useless. Number 5. Yucca Mountain, Nevada. First, we have the Yucca Mountain, which is said to be a megaproject that was planned given a sensitive global issue. As we all know, if not properly stored, nuclear waste can be deadlier than anything seen since the dawn of civilization. And yet it's not talked about as much as the other environmental problems out there. Currently, nuclear waste is stored above ground, near the power plants from which it originates. However, the scientific community agrees that burying this hazardous waste deep underground is the most secure long-term solution. In the 1980s, U.S. authorities set out on a quest to find a permanent solution to this problem. As a result, Yucca Mountain in Nevada was identified as the best available option for this problem in 1987. It was close to the most heavily used nuclear testing site in the U.S., but it was far enough from any populated areas to be safe. The plan was to bury garbage from all over the country in a network of tubes 300 meters beneath Yucca Mountain. It can absorb any type of nuclear waste without disintegrating or splitting. In theory, it appeared to be an ideal location for a repository, but Nevada officials were not having it. This resulted in opposition in large numbers. Don't you want to know the reasons that led to these disagreements? In the United States, there are approximately 100 operational and closed nuclear reactor facilities in 34 states. However, none of them were in Nevada. As a result, legislative members and the general public were strongly opposed to the idea of becoming the country's sole nuclear dumping site. Furthermore, some questions have been raised about the official hydrological and geological study of the Yucca Mountain. Opponents claimed that the location was unsuitable for a repository because it could contaminate a nearby water supply. The water source that flows into the Armagosa Valley is used by Native Americans who have lived in the area for a millennia. Though the project was approved in 2002, Nevada's opponents, on the other hand, grew stronger. They claimed that recurring exposures during the transition would stigmatize Nevada residents and harm state tourism. Do you want to know how this project ended? After 4 decades of planning, legal wrangling, and more than $17 billion invested in the Yucca Mountain project, Nevada appears to have won the war. But after all, it is said and accomplished, it was never used and now ranks among the world's most ineffective infrastructure projects. By the time Barack Obama was elected President of the United States, the entire endeavor had become very political. In 2010, the Obama administration declared the project unfeasible and they stopped funding it. Number 2. Forest City, Singapore. The next stop on our list is one of green, futuristic metropolis. The Forest City is built on reclaimed land on 4 artificial islands. The islands are enveloped by an artificial forest environment. Sounds pretty interesting, right? Forest City's location makes it an appealing option for investors seeking to capitalize on its proximity to Singapore, which is an independent city-state. The second link bridge connects Forest City and Singapore, reducing the distance between the cities to just 20 minutes. Forest City also has its own customs facility, which will allow our residents to freely travel to and from Singapore. Many green innovations are said to have been incorporated into the design. Buildings in Forest City have green rooftops and vertical gardens, creating a jungle-like environment. The city's streets are designed in layers, with the bottom layer dedicated to traffic and parking spaces, with parks, sports facilities, and transportation hubs located on the upper layer. Why do you think a city packed with these attractive features is still on the list? Yeah, we got the answers. The lockdown and international travel restrictions were major setbacks. As a result, no new investors were permitted to enter Malaysia, according to the country's movement control order. Several previous investors withdrew from the project due to this uncertainty. As an outcome, by the beginning of 2020, fewer than 500 people were living in the residential projects. A small number, given that the Forest City is intended for 700,000 people. Nobody at this point knew the future of this magnificent infrastructure. That's why it's on our list of the world's most pointless infrastructure projects. Since then, the project has been in flux, with some salespeople claiming that fewer than 10 Forest City properties have been sold since the start of the coronavirus outbreak. Furthermore, Country Garden laid off nearly 1,000 Malaysian workers last year, indicating that the project's fortunes had plummeted. Forest City was arguably too audacious to begin with, too far in the future to truly succeed, and too politically difficult to succeed in the short term. Despite billions of dollars invested, it's reasonable to say that Forest City is now one of the world's most useless infrastructure projects. Number 3. Nai Pia Dao, Myanmar. Have you heard of a useless city capital? The next one on our list is Nai Pia Dao. The relocation of a country's capital isn't unprecedented. Many countries have done so in the past. Myanmar's former military rulers secretly began building a new capital city in 2002. In November of 2005, the leader announced his intention to the public. He did not, however, reveal the name of the future capital. He eventually revealed the name to be Nai Pia Dao, which translates to King's Inhabitants, after 4 months. The reason for this sudden change had some people thinking. Some speculated that the military command was concerned about a maritime invasion. Others speculated that it was relocated based on an astrological advice. It was, however, due to the former capital, Yangon, which had a population limit of 7 million people. They believed that it had reached its infrastructure limits, with the city's population expected to double by 2050. Furthermore, during British rule, the seaside city was established as the capital to aid the British Navy. As a result, Myanmar's relocation of its capital to a more central location made sense. The new project was completed quickly, and successive governments have invested a total of $4 billion in the city. The fact that this magnificent capital is now called a ghost town is shocking. Don't you want to know about what went down, resulting in it becoming a deserted location? People don't want to live here for a variety of reasons. The majority of the population is hesitant to make the city their permanent home due to a persistent lack of healthcare facilities, as well as a scarcity of high-quality educational institutions and economic opportunities. The amazing 20-lane highway in the capital is nearly deserted. There's no evidence of traffic congestion, and there are times when there's not even a single vehicle that can be found on the vast highway. It may have a future, but it's currently one of the most ineffective infrastructure projects in the world. Despite its apparent desolation, the royal capital has a bright side. It's intended to be a future metropolis, and with Nai Pia Dao's growing population, there's still time for it to be redeemed. But for the time being, it's without a doubt the world's strangest capital, and it's inaccessible to the vast majority of the country's inhabitants. Interstate H3, Hawaii, US. The next one on our list, Interstate H3, is by far the best of the lot. This 26-kilometer-long road runs through Hawaii's Aloha State. Because it's so beautiful, there were serious concerns that people would stop and cause traffic jams. However, the highway is as divisive as it is stunning. The highway was initially planned with military concerns in mind in 1960, as it connects the Pearl Harbor Naval Base on the island's south side to the Marine Corps Air Station on the island's east coast. The announcement of its development was met with immediate opposition from environmental groups and native Hawaiians concerned about the project's massive urbanization. The road was finally finished in 1997, nearly 37 years after it was first envisioned. The Interstate H3 is sometimes regarded as an engineering marvel due to the rough terrain on which it was built and the modern technology used in its construction. The total cost of construction was $1.3 billion, or about $50 million per kilometer. That is supposed to be the most expensive cost per kilometer in the world. Despite its enormous budget, this magnificent highway, it's not for everyone. Critics argue that it's a road to nowhere because defense issues have no longer been relevant since the 1960s. Then there are native Hawaiians, the vast majority of whom continue to refuse to use the H3. They believe it's cursed because it destroyed several religiously significant cultural sites while being built. A newly built airport in its proximity was reduced to a single small-time airline within the first year of operation due to a lack of large airlines to attract customers. The airport had accumulated a $350 million debt by 2012. All these are reasons for this magnificent creation to go down on the list. With that being said, we've come to an end of the video. Do let us know your thoughts in the video in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to our channel too.